Hey, it's Marcus from Holosuite, helping experimental artists make more, better music. Today I'd like to share with you the plugins that I use when I'm mastering ambient music. A quick disclaimer, I'm not affiliated by any of the companies, or I'm not receiving kickbacks for any of the plugins that I'm linking in this today. I'm just talking about the ones that I like and use. So I divide these into two categories. I've got the parametric or visualizer based ones, and then the analog or non-visualizer ear-based ones. First up is Fabfilter Pro-Q3. This is an absolute workhorse. I'm sure everyone probably knows what this is already. If I only was to use one EQ, I would use this one. These days, I tend to use it for a few very specific things. The first is surgical cuts. So if there's any like particularly bad resonances, I tend to use this to take it out. It's just much easier to find that sound. I also tend to use it when my ears are failing me and when I can't find the frequency that I'm trying to boost or cut using my analog EQs. I will use this. I'm not a huge fan of using visualizers, but sometimes it just helps to be able to see what I'm doing. The other thing I like to use this for is dynamic EQ. So if I'm using something that's got like a lot of different moving parts and I want to exaggerate some of them, it's a really easy to just start giving like a broadband boost or a cut to certain parts of the frequency spectrum. It really makes things come alive. And this is sometimes also good using mid-side because I can be more targeted when I want to bring out certain things in the sides. For example, if I need to add a little bit more atmosphere to the pads or the reverb, it's really good for that too. Next is the Eventide SplitEQ, which is really good for fixing issues in the mix. If somebody sends me something and there are things that are unresolvable, for example, if they've lost the original file or something like that, this is really good at isolating different parts of the mix that are either too exaggerated or not showing up enough, and I can move those without affecting too much of the mix. And the other thing it's really good for is very, very subtle mid-side panning. So I can, as I was showing in earlier videos, I can move things into the middle or out or take it away from the center without affecting the rest of the mix. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. Keep supporting the channel. I will keep making you the kind of content that you want. Don't forget to check the links in the description. You'll find access to free resources for making and releasing ambient music. And you'll also find a link to a form where you can request a one-track free master sample from me. So next we have EQs that aren't built off a visualizer section. They're supposed to be using just your ears. The first one of these that I love is Pulsar Massive. Now there are lots of different versions of the Manly Massive Passive EQ out there in plugin form. I just like this one a lot because it got really good reviews and it's the only one I own. I haven't tested the other ones, but this is really good for kind of broadband boosts. It works really well on bass. For some reason the curve is just perfect when I use the shelf version on the bass, and also the kind of the upper mids. I find that it's really good for doing stuff in the upper mids, and you can really push the drive section if you want to get a little bit of saturation out of this as well. Or I also tend to use this for mid-side EQ as well, just to make some kind of subtle differences between things that are happening in the center and things that are happening in the sides, which can be very important in ambient. And lastly, there's the Waves PuigTec EQ-P1A and MEQ5. Now these are PuigTec clones, and once again, there are lots of different versions of these. I used to use the Ignite Amps PT-EQ-X, but unfortunately it stopped working with my computer, so I moved on to the Waves, and that's the only reason I use this one. But the cool thing about the PuigTecs is it allows you to really crank things without feeling like you've gone too far. So if I really want to bring something up, particularly in the lows and the highs, this is great because I can just crank it all the way up and I don't have to worry too much about what the curve is going to look like. It will just tell me when it sounds good. And this one particularly, I really like emphasizing the highs at around 12 kilohertz. I always tend to bring that area up. It just brings in more openness without causing any other issues in the mix. That can really make or break a good ambient master. Now obviously these are just the plugins that I like to use. If you're going to be mastering ambient music, just remember that the best plugin is the one that you know well and that does the job for you. So you don't necessarily need all these fancy ones, especially because a lot of them can be quite costly. So if you're on a budget, there are usually good free alternatives to all of these plugins. And I'll put some of them in the description below in case you'd like to try them out yourself. Always use the tools that you have at hand that do the best job for you. Till next time, keep making music. Cheers.